All right, so welcome back. This is the short video that is going to go with it's going to go with the looping chapter. You'll notice that we're not on Replit. We're not looking at the Prework site. We're using a different tool, but as usual, make sure to read the chapter, go through all the examples, you know, the usual deal. But we're on this site, pythontutor.com, which is a great tool if you're ever teaching Python or various other languages, but you'll notice that it also has Java Tutor, and it's a way of running and visualizing code in these different languages. So I'm going to click on Java Tutor, and the actual site is pythontutor.com/java blah 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 blah, and we can type code in here. And the nice thing is that you can type your program. So I can have like int I equals 10, and I can say int sum equals 0, and sum equals I plus 1, and system out print line sum. And if I visualize my executable, my program, I click on that. It'll take a little time, but you'll notice that it says here, if we go to next, not the fastest, let's click it again. Notice that I is set to 10 inside main. And, sum is set to 0. Sum is set to I plus 1. And then print out the result. And there's your program. So it's a great way to visualize your program. So let's edit the code. And for loops, we have in the example, over on the Prework, it shows that the basic form of repetition is done with a while loop. And the way the while loop works is it starts with the word while, and then while some condition is true, keep doing the stuff in here. So I can say system out print line hello, and why don't we make this while true, because true is always true. And let's visualize the execution. And it's an unreachable statement because our loop goes forever and it won't do this. Let's see if we get rid of these guys here. And that was just a Python tutor or a Java tutor issue because it's not that powerful or elaborate. But let's see what happens. So let's close that. And let's now trace through. And this is just going to keep going forever because it's while true. It's always true. Let's edit the code. And why don't we make I start at 0? And why don't we say in here, I equals I plus 1. So let's visualize this execution. And so notice, prints out hello, I gets I plus 1, so now I is 1. Prints out hello, I gets I plus 1, and as I click, it just keeps going over and over and over again. So this can be used to repeat things. But normally you want to repeat to a certain stopping point. So for example, that's where your Boolean comes in, while I is less than 10. And why don't we say here, sum equals sum plus I, and let's say system out print line I equals I, sum equals sum. So we are going to start make this a little smaller to try to get everything in. So we'll start visualizing. So notice I is 0, sum is 0. We print out hello. Sum gets modified, I gets modified, comes back up to the top. And each time we click it, oh, I'm missing it. Each time we click it, I gets changed. It's just running the lines. And we're going to keep doing it until, notice I is 9. Now I is 10. 10 is not less than 10, so that becomes false. It's no longer true. And we exit out, and we are done. So that is how the while loop works. Now, the other loop that we have in Python is something known as the for loop, and we'll have other loops later on. But the for loop is just a reworking of the while loop. So in a while loop, we usually start by setting up our variables. So we're going to say here sum equals 0, but we're going to say here I equals 0. That's the thing we want to set up before the loop. So that's kind of like we move this line. Then the second part is our Boolean, while I is less than 10. So we literally move that part in. And then the third part is the increment. So it's the same as the while loop, it's just moving the pieces. And in here we might have sum equals sum plus I, and maybe here we'll print system out, print line, and we'll just go like I. Yeah, just print it up a little bit. And we will just comment all of this out. So notice it's the same, it works the same, but it's just this three-part structure separated by the semicolons, whereas this is what you do to set up your Boolean variable before the loop, that line. This is your Boolean, so it's really the same thing as here from the while. And then what do you do at the bottom of your loop before you come back up to the top? And if we visualize the execution, we see it operates in the same way. Oh, I have I is less than 1, so that wasn't very useful. So it only went through that one time. So we'll make that 10. And we see that it's operating in the same way as before. So that's the while loop and the for loop. That's really all I got for this one. It's pretty mechanical. Again, the chapter has much more information on it. Yeah, so that's it.